And what is your business here, Dr. Grinspoon? My business is to examine the patient and appear as a witness at this trial. He interrupted me to say, "You mean the accused? And how many times did you examine the accused?" "Twice." "How many hours did you spend examining the accused?" 5.5 hours. Good. And now you will kindly produce for the court the written authorization from the Ministry of Health as required by law for a foreigner to medically examine a prisoner in Malaysia. I told him I knew nothing about this law. It was clear from their reactions that neither Shafi nor the judge knew about it either. Alim then said that he would charge and arrest me for the violation. The judge, after satisfying himself that the law existed, said, "You are within your right to arrest this man now, but if you do, you will not be able to cross-examine him, and you said that you needed 2 to 3 hours of cross-examination." Alim then decided to put the charge on hold and cross-examine me. He had a long list of questions which he crossed out one by one. The more he asked, the more ground he lost. Eventually, exasperated, he said, "Dr. Grinspoon, all that you have reported here about the capacity of cannabis to relieve suffering of one type or another comes from papers and journals. What has been your experience in observing this for yourself?" In response, I told the court how smoking cannabis had given my son, who suffered from leukemia, extraordinarily effective relief from the pernicious nausea and vomiting caused by some cancer chemotherapies. As someone from the American Embassy later said, "You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom." As I spoke, the prosecutor began to shuffle and rustle papers intrusively. The judge, who was obviously deeply interested in my story, raised his voice and said, "Mr. Alim, are you listening to Dr. Grinspoon? Are you getting this? Do you want him to start from the beginning?" Alim stopped shuffling papers. When I finished, he pursued a few more questions and abruptly stopped, although he had only asked about 2/3 of the questions on his list. He then conferred with some other government people, one of whom was in uniform. It seemed clear that they were deciding whether to arrest me. Finally, he told the judge that he had concluded his cross-examination and the court was dismissed. We were fairly sure that given his comments during the cross-examination, the judge would not sentence Kerry to death. We also believed that Alim had decided not to arrest me because the publicity might damage his case even further. However, as we were preparing to leave the courtroom, Alan Kong, legal counsel to the American Embassy, told Shafi and me that I was not out of danger yet, that Alim, in brackets the government, might arrest me at Subang Airport that night as I left Kuala Lumpur. He gave me a telephone number where he could be reached at the time of my departure. That evening, Shafi accompanied me to the airport, where he obtained an airport security badge and walked me through customs and immigration, never leaving my side until the door to the airplane was closed. The judge issued his ruling on January the 17th, 1991. He said that on the balance of probabilities, there was enough evidence adduced from the accused to show that the cannabis was for his own consumption, specifically to relieve pain from injuries he suffered in a fall off a mountain. He was sentenced to 5 years in jail, of which 26 months remained to be served, and as a mandatory part of the sentence, 10 strokes of the rattan. The cane used in Malaysia is particularly cruel and burdens the recipient with some motion limitation and pain for the rest of his life. The sentence will be appealed, and if it fails, Ramsey, Clark, and I will explore the possibility of a pardon. And at the bottom of the page, there's a quote: "Every nation has the government it deserves." Joseph de Maistre. So, very interesting story. And we'll have a little chat about that later.